Good morning. Before I give you the scripture, I want to tell you a little funny story. I was required or was asked to do a funeral this past week and had to go up to another state. And it was a different place. And so I got to the funeral home, and my son went with me because it was a pretty good ways away and about 15 hours. And so I was waiting on the front pew because I was going to speak, obviously. And there was these three ladies behind me. And they were probably in their late 80s, mid 80s, early 90s. And they were members of a book club. And if you had heard them talking, they were talking about, basically, I hope this thing doesn't go too long. And I hope this, and I hope that, and I hope there's no kids here because, those little rats, they carry COVID like crazy, and they don't have the vaccination. And she said, how can you tell who's had the vaccination anyway? She said, I look around here and half the people aren't wearing masks and all this kind of stuff. And it was just, and she said, I'm traveling to my sister's and I'm flying here. And I just read this book and it's a little steamy, but I got through it. And it was just listening to these three ladies dialogue about, and I say this respectfully, nothing. They weren't talking about the family who was about to have a funeral. They weren't talking about, certainly not God. They were talking about just superficial little things like, when's this thing going to get over? We've seen that film 3 times. I mean, what's happening here? Never realizing I was the speaker. And I wrote a note to my son. I said, if I have to listen to these ladies 5 more minutes, I'm going to slit my wrist. And then I thought about this verse, Acts 4:20. For we cannot help but speak about that which we've seen and heard. Peter told them that, the ruling Sanhedrin, when they told him, be quiet about Jesus. He said, man, I can't shut up about Jesus. I've got to talk about Jesus. I can't keep quiet about Jesus. What's inside of you is what comes out of you. We can't stop speaking about that which we've seen and heard. Now, I want to ask you a question. What have you seen God do in your life? And what have you heard him say to you? So I haven't heard him say anything. Well, I'm not talking about audibly. A voice that'd scare you. It'd probably scare me. But what have you heard him say in Scripture? When you've been reading and looking for an answer, what did he say to you? I've got notes all over this Bible, and where I'd be reading something, it was like he was talking to me. He was telling me, that's your answer. And I'd jot it in. And I'd say, that's what he said to me. And so we can't stop but talk about what we've seen and heard. What are some of the miracles that you've seen God do in your life? I was getting some construction done on my house, and I was pretty discouraged. A lot of things had gone wrong, and I was just tuning up money, and all this kind of stuff. I'm thinking, I don't, Lord, I don't know why we're having this problem here, and all this kind of stuff. I didn't see that, and I got to replace all the fascia board, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just ding, 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 ding. And the guy that came out there that was hooking up something, and he was a Christian. We got to talking. And he was telling me about all these different things. He told me about his brother being handicapped and all these things. And I was just so convicted because here I had been complaining. And he said, well, what's going on in your life or something like that? And I shared a little bit. And he said, you know what? Don't forget, God still does miracles. And you know what? God spoke to me through that guy. Because I was about to conclude that day, I was the recipient of a lot of bad stuff. But he said, God still does miracles. You know what he does? And I can't help but speak about what I've seen and what I've heard. And that's what he wants us to do. God bless you. Have a great day.